this is a week that both sides of this have been waiting for literally years. This has been circled, and it's just, you could feel it. It's Monday morning already, and you could feel it building. This is what we live for, all of us college football guys. Like, these are the weeks, man. And it's just great. This energy's great. And we're going to find out the real deal here in a handful of days.
I'll get this out of the way, John, right out of the gate. Always Irish. It's a must destination, folks, here on YouTube. Always Irish. Whether you love Notre Dame, hate Notre Dame, whatever in between, very few in between, I believe, if you're truly a college football fan. So get on over there, check out John's work, talk it up with John. It's always a great time. He knows his stuff, and he is. My only criticism of John is sometimes he needs to bring the energy a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm going to try. Yeah, I mean, I need to wake up. I know my delivery's a little sleepy. I'm going to work on raising the energy level here a little bit. So I want to know what I missed, you guys. I'm joining you late. I mean, I just want to know, what did I miss here? How much did we break down already? Looking at Ohio State and Notre Dame, and who should be feeling like they're trending up, and who has concerns against what's happened with the opponents so far? Where does this leave us?
Nathan broke down the offense and the defense on the Notre Dame side. Then we started to go the fan route in regards to the trolling and what the message boards have looked like for the entire offseason.
There's a lot of that.
I'll start it off this way, and then you guys can dig into this because, again, this is my channel. I can be on here 24/7 if I want. So I like to allow my guests, especially when they're as good as you two, to cut loose. So we'll start here. We saw the Buckeyes trounce Western Kentucky. How much does that mean? I think it means something, but not a lot. We've seen Notre Dame roll off 4 wins fairly easily. NC State, by far the best opponent. So, John, your confidence level or your estimation of these two teams in this matchup, has it changed in the last couple of weeks?
Man, that's interesting. Mark, you must be good at this, because that's a question I've been asking is, is your opinion changed? If you're a Notre Dame guy, after seeing Central, is your opinion changed? Or has it moved the needle, or do you just kind of whatever, it's a new week and we're going to be up for Ohio State? Here's my overall takeaway, Mark, is Notre Dame has been a running meme my entire cognizant life about losing the big game. My entire life, it's been a narrative, and it's an accurate one, and we're all sick of it. Now, why is it different this year? Notre Dame's built a little different this year. Notre Dame's bringing a quarterback into one of these environments people actually feel good about, instead of cringing and going, what bad's going to happen next? It changes everything when you feel like you have a quarterback who could keep you in one of these games. All of the last years with Kelly and last year with Freeman, it was, you better block 2 kicks and get a pick 6 to keep us in the game. You got to look at it differently. Just Hartman's presence alone means this game's going to look different than all those other recent big-time Notre Dame games. I don't know whether that means Notre Dame's going to win or not, but it means that it's a different kind of game playing Notre Dame this year with that dynamic. Nathan, do you agree? I just think that is where you got to start, that it changes the calculus right away.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I said the first thing I said when we hopped on. Is actually, Mark brought it up. He goes, I don't know if we should bring up Sam Hartman at first light, but we'll probably have to bring up Sam Hartman at first light, just because it's the most important thing. And, essentially my answer was Notre Dame brought in Sam Hartman to potentially win the big game, or to be the reason you win those big games. And so I don't see that changing.
Yeah. All the big game stuff is real. Those are facts. It's just that Notre Dame entered all those games from way in a worse position than they're entering this one. That's my position. I'm not saying it guarantees anything, but Notre Dame feels like they're putting a quarterback out there that can run an offense to be more real world in an environment against an elite, a talented roster, which we do know that Ohio State has. Now, I mean, it's interesting. Notre Dame none of those games ended up being that close that Notre Dame played, but not all of them felt that way the whole time. And then you get into the games within the game, and how much do I want to nitpick some things I didn't like about Central Michigan, or whatever. And so then you get into all that nuance of like, what should you just throw away and go, we're through it and it's all a clean slate? And what are you holding on to from those first 4 weeks, either on the good or the bad? There's a lot of nuance there for both sides, Notre Dame and Ohio State. So I don't know if my opinion of this game or confidence has changed since Central. I think I admit I'd feel better if we won 56-3 or something and Hartman was out by halftime instead of getting his leg bent backwards in the third quarter where I never wanted him to play anyways. I almost fell out of the stadium. If ever there was a set of circumstances that helped Notre Dame people feel good about this game, this is it this year. You got these guys coming to your house at a night game. You have the experienced quarterback with the advantage. Like, knowing what Ohio State is and respecting their talent, if any set of circumstances help Notre Dame at all, these are the ones. These are the ones. If you ain't going to get it now, what are we doing this for? Everything. It's the best shot Notre Dame's going to get to do this. And it all lines up. You just got to go play a great game. And it's all right there for you. What are you going to do with it?
Well, and I think that's a good point you bring up because, you see a lot of the chat saying that we're overhyping Notre Dame or whatever. And I think we've actually shown a pretty fair representation of what both rosters look like in general. Obviously, speaking more about Notre Dame because we know more about Notre Dame than we do Ohio State. But to your point, if Notre Dame doesn't win this game, when are they? Because I don't expect Ohio State to have an inexperienced quarterback who we don't know if he's good or bad yet. Like I think he could. I was a Kyle McCord fan coming out of high school. I think he could absolutely be a really good quarterback. But right now, outside of last week, we haven't seen it, against good competition. We haven't seen Notre Dame really against good competition yet this year either. But we've seen Sam Hartman produce against good competition in the past, right?
You guys, I'm having a really fun time seeing the people that aren't familiar with me asking what's wrong with me. Like, it's so funny to me in the chat. These people, I understand if it's your first time, you might be like, what is wrong with this guy? I promise you, I'm not on any drugs other than caffeine coffee right now. I promise you. But I'm sorry. I realize that's a lot. If you're not used to this, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
Someone put like never in the chat to the response of like, if not now, when?
Yeah.
Maybe that's true. Who knows? But we're not, if they don't win this year, there's a legitimate argument to when is Notre Dame actually going to do it?
Look, Notre Dame fans acting like they played somebody, blah, blah, blah. I'm admitting that the competition has been a lower level, but it was under Kelly too, and we lost those games. Or you won it by a field goal at the end against lesser talented teams, and it was a relief. You didn't feel any pride in Notre Dame playing. Those are the markers I look for. We played a lot of teams we should beat 40-something to some and haven't. Now we're doing it and people still aren't happy. So I don't know what you want them to do. Win 50-0 every game, or there's nothing positive, I guess.
And then Mike brought up something. I mean, they did play a real team in NC State, at least on the defensive side. NC State going into that game hadn't allowed a team to score 30 points or more in a long time. I think that they were 15 of 16 at home over their last 16 games. And Notre Dame kind of blew a lot of that out of the water. So we'll see. NC State's definitely not Ohio State, though.
That's funny. Troy says here, I live in Chicago, and the guy in the lower square reminds me of all my Irish buddies. Well, guess what area I'm in right now, buddy? South Chicago suburbs. So you got a good radar on that one. You're
Let's
right
just not
on
talk
it.
about the Bears.
Good radar. Yeah, we're not making this about the Bears, okay? We're not doing it. We're keeping it college. I'm not doing that to myself.
Talk about an Ohio State QB there.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Yeah, they're going to mess him up. They already have. But that's my overarching point, you guys, is I openly announce they have more star talent on their team. I admit they've recruited at a better clip year in and year out. I admit all of that. But there's just some little things here that I'm wondering if it balances out the ledger. And it all starts with that quarterback and the level of experience and proven entity that is. And I just don't know how much weight to give that of balancing out that overall talent disparity. I'm not sure about that. And that is why millions of people are going to tune in Saturday to see. We need the answer.
And I think it's important to note the transfer portal also helps with disparity in recruiting. And obviously Hartman was transfer portal, so that's a big one. But when you bring in, like we mentioned, when you bring in guys like Thomas Harper, you bring in Javonte Jean-Baptiste, you bring in Antonio Carter, you bring in a couple other guys.
Dude,
those are guys you're bringing in.
This guy's screen name, every time he messages on my show, I can't help it, man.
So I just saw that and I thought, what brings an individual to come to that decision, to make that choice?
Hilarious. Being hilarious. That's the answer, because that's funny as hell.